Okay. All right, everyone. Thanks for your patience. We're getting ourselves set up here. I want to make sure that everybody has a chance to join. So I'm going to go back. Not there. We're going to go back a couple slides. I'm not sure what's happening there. I'm going to go back to the just the topics for today that we're going to be covering. Again, like I mentioned, we have a couple of staff members that'll be speaking, and we're going to highlight some conference works. And then our speaker for today will be our Director of Housing, Mariel, who's in the room with us here with me and with Pat. We're today observing the feast day of the Immaculate Conception. So I just wanted to begin like we do every day with a brief prayer before we get started. So if you will, please join me in prayer in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Most gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for the blessing of your grace. Today, as we ponder the Immaculate Conception of Mary's unfailing faith in your calling and purpose for her life, we pray to find the same surety and comfort in your will for our lives. You teach us to trust in what you can do and what we can do if, like Mary, we put ourselves in your hands and at your service, always open to what you ask and always seeking to fulfill your will. Be with us and watch over us as we dialogue together and learn from each other today in friendship and service. Amen. So, Holy Spirit. All right, everyone, thank you. We're going to get started with Pat, our CEO, who has a message for us. Pat, thank you very much. I believe if you talk, the camera will probably.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate you putting this together. And we know we started these a couple of years ago, and certainly look forward to the opportunity to be with you all today. So thank you, and thank you for taking time from your schedules to carve out some time. We really think today's program is a good one, and hope that everybody listens and gets some good takeaways. We learn a lot. We learn a lot from some of our your fellow conferences, which is really the two-way part of this, right? So I know we're communicating, but hopefully we're receiving as much. I know in the past these sessions have been very helpful in terms of learning about some best practices that maybe some sister conferences or brother conferences are practicing or are doing and affecting change and helping people in different ways that maybe we haven't thought about in the past. So hopefully there's some good takeaways today. We're really excited also about our Director of Housing, Mariel, who's going to spend some time with you today talking about some of the initiatives that we're embarking on there in that critical area. One of the things that we continue to hear in terms of huge needs from our neighbors in need are the options that are available to people in the housing arena. We know it's a very challenged and troubled area in terms of our people being able to, the folks that we're trying to serve, having a real need there that we haven't been able to address as well as maybe we can or we could. So we've done a great job we think from a food standpoint, 40 food pantries. We've done a great job launching the pharmacy, I think, in the last year and a half. We're up to serving over 1,000 or fulfilling over 1,000 prescriptions per month. We look forward to that continuing to grow as we have the ability to build more headcount and support there. But I think the housing area is an area that we continue to scratch the surface, and hopefully with the investment in people like Mariel and the expertise, we can continue to grow in our capabilities to serve that sector. So I just want to really take another 45 seconds or a minute or so just to thank all of you for the past 2.5 years. I'll be retiring at the end of the year. I want to thank you for your prayers, your support, and really, most importantly, thank you for putting your faith into action. None of this happens. I think I said on my first call 2.5 years ago that none of this happens here really without what all of you are doing. We're truly a support center. You are where it all happens, and I want to thank you for that. as I said last night, I was on a district call last night, district meeting. And the one thing I indicated was that it hasn't always been a straight line in the last 2.5 years, but I think directionally we've made a lot of good progress. So I want to thank our team here in Chamblee, the support center. They've really made a huge difference. I think we've got a great team that are positioned well to take us to the next level, especially with the choice of Mike Meese as our new leader. I feel really good about that selection. And I think you all are going to go, I mean it when I say that. I think you all are going to reach new heights in terms of our ability to help others. And that's really what we're all here for. So thank you all. And want to wish all of you a Merry Christmas and enjoy the season. And I'm not sure if Mike was going to be able to get on the call. He actually had to travel for his other job this week. But Mike, if you're on the call, we've got a little time here for you. If not, we'll move on.
You say when?
When? Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Pat. So I have just a few points to mention to you today for Vincentian news. Excuse me, bear with me here. I want to show you, we have a new formation and news e-blast that goes out. And I believe everyone, Carolyn, are you able to see this on the screen? Yeah, great. Okay, thank you. This is what it'll look like. It's a new look, kind of the same content that we've sent out in the past. But I want to direct your attention to it because this is how we're going to be communicating with Vincentians for the most part. For in a 2-week time period, you'll see that we have upcoming formation and events here. There are registration links as well as details about each opportunity. You'll notice here we have a new eviction process and extended stay clinic that our very own Marielle is going to be hosting on the 15th next week. So I encourage you to check this out. In addition to Vincentian related news, Vincentian services related news, we're going to have other news here at the bottom for other departments. For instance, the volunteers, the operations department, they're highlighting the Christmas Kids Warehouse volunteer need this week, as well as next week, I believe. And we also have your very own, yours truly's St. Vincent de Paul CEO, Pat McNulty, former Chief Mission Officer Jerry Veltri, and myself. We will be speaking at the Believes Ministry about the fruits of the Holy Spirit in the workplace. That's coming up as well on the 13th. So those are just a couple of items for you to consider. Comes out in the e-blast. If you don't receive this e-blast, please let me know. Please send me an email. We can double check our database and make sure that you are on the list and to receive those notices. So that's the most important thing. The other thing that I wanted to mention to you is that we have a rollout of CMS 4.1 that's going to be taking place in January. And that's been communicated to the district presidents, I believe, as well as the conference presidents. More news to come on that. The knowledge sharing team that John Pepe and Jerry put together, they've done a really great job of diving deep into these enhancements and what, from what I understand, they feel that these are going to be very minor in terms of the impact on the flow of information in CMS, but what you're really going to enjoy is fewer screens and fewer clicks. So I think that overall is kind of the goal. All right, so Fred, are you on? We want to highlight you next. Going to be talking about Prince of Peace. Okay, yes, sir. Take it over, please.
One of the things that when I became president of the conference at Prince of Peace, one of the things that was important to us, the recruiting process. We just didn't get enough recruiting, and we used to do it once a year. And so we decided that recruiting is an everyday function. So we actually do that. Next slide, please. So in recruiting, we recruit every single day. We have brochures with applications around where we have our St. Vincent de Paul food display. It's by the church. And so people, as they drop off food, they can actually pick up a brochure and an application to join St. Vincent de Paul. And we've also put applications down at the pantry. So as people come by, we have this quite a bit. They say, you know, I'd like to join St. Vincent de Paul. How do I do that? We give them a brochure and we give them an application. We also recruit word of mouth big time. And we also attend community volunteer fairs. A lot of communities around here by us have volunteer fairs where you actually go there for a couple hours and they'll have other vendors there and people stop by and talk and seeing where would they like to spend time and volunteer. So it's a great way to do that. We also post on our bulletin at the parish. We've decided that we get a lot of applications. We get like 10 applications a month.
Wow.
We've actually have a recruiting manager that we have hired, not as a volunteer. And she, first thing she does when she gets an application, she talks to the person live, explains to them what we're looking for, talks to them, what can you contribute? And so we go through a process. And we also get those people from the application. We actually get them on the roster. We get them a training badge, a badge, background check. So everything that they need to get started is done from that application. And applications we have made available to the admin assistant at our church. So if somebody happens to come to the church and says, I'd like to volunteer for St. Vincent de Paul, she can print it out and it's available to them. If you would click the brochure.
1 second, Fred, I apologize. I've got to share.
Okay. Okay.
It's up. I just have to share it. Let's...
This is something that Amanda, when she was here, developed for us. And so it's a nice brochure, it's attractive, and it draws people's attention. And so we use that. We have it trifolded and available to our members as they walk by, they'll see this. So it's a nice way to do it. And if you would click on the brochure, the application, we have at our parish a lot of Hispanics. And so we are constantly looking for people that can speak Spanish and English, obviously. So in the application, we have primary, secondary languages. We get all their information, including emergency contact information and what their special skills are. We actually put this data into a database so that when we're looking for certain people, we can actually do a search and find, as an example, if I needed a lawyer for help, a lot of professional people come to church. So if they're a volunteer, we look at the background. So it helps us. And we have done training for CMS at our own facility. And the person that put the program together did that for a profession. And it was on her application. So we approached her. So if you go to the office use only, this is where, once we get it right there, we check off what we have to do and it goes around to different people. So the person that does the background check, she makes sure everything is taken care of. She notifies them, here's what you got to do. The roster person sees that, puts that information in the roster. We get a name badge. All of that is taken care of from here. And we actually have in there, so they're registered for CMS and given a password. And we use Sign Up Genius for the pantry for the volunteers. So we add them to Sign Up Genius. And I have a spot so add them to the mailing list. So we don't forget anybody. That's the worst thing you can do, is have somebody volunteer and you don't talk to them.
That's right. I just want to clarify, Pop means Prince of Peace.
Yes, yes.
Just in case anybody who's not familiar was wondering.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. We really appreciate it. We like to highlight conferences and their best practices, and we certainly recognize you and condolences to you on the loss of your friend Larry, but you and Larry and the job that you did putting this together and carrying it forward, and recruitment of Vincentians is really something to be touted. So we really appreciate your time today, and we appreciate you going into detail and sharing those resources with us.
You're welcome.
All right, so Bernie, I believe you're up next. Are you with us? If not, we can always come back.
You can look in the participant list if you click on participant.
Yes, I saw Bernie, but it was here he is. So I'm going to unmute you, Bernie. Ask to unmute you so that we can hear you. Thank you, Muriel.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, we can. Thank you.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Bernie Moreno. I'm with the All Saints Conference in Dunwoody. And let me have the second slide, please. Thank you. About 3 years ago, I went out on a call where the request was for rental assistance. But as I continued to speak with the client, I realized that there were needs beyond only rental assistance. And one particular need was a need for auto repair. And her car was not available because it needed repair, so consequently she was unable to get to work. So I thought, well, we better address this first. And of course, we were going to address the rental request to begin with. And since the car was in such dire shape, I couldn't travel very far to get repairs done. And this client lives on Peachtree Industrial Boulevard in the Dunwoody area. And I found an organization by the name of Christian Brothers Automotive, which was located north on Peachtree Industrial. And I showed up there after making an appointment with her car. And I explained to the service manager that this was a charity case and we needed assistance with the repairs and certainly the cost of repair. And the service manager there was very supportive. His name is Jay Jolly. And Jay and I have since developed a relationship over the last 3 years. And let me tell you a little bit about Christian Brothers. Christian Brothers was founded in 1982. And today there are over 200 locations across the country. Christian Brothers Automotive offers an annual free service day. And the date and the extent of the service being offered is up to the individual franchisee. Now, I didn't know about that until after serving the client. So Jay got in touch with me later on and explained what free service day meant. They initially began offering the free service day in Austin, Texas, by the franchisee there. And at first it was limited to single moms. It has since been expanded to all people in need. So this year, the free service day occurred on October 15th. And two organizations were identified to be served by Christian Brothers Automotive in Norcross. And All Saints Conference, of course, was one of them. So I, at one of our business meetings, communicated with everyone in the conference, explaining to them what the free service day was all about. This year, Jay told me they were limiting it to oil changes only. However, knowing Christian Brothers over the last 3 years and getting to know Jay, they voluntarily extended it beyond the free oil change. So we had to identify the clients who had automobiles that were in need of service. And we did this by contacting them and then arranging for appointments. And then we followed up the night before the free service day as a reminder to make sure the clients knew about the date and would show up. May I have the next slide, please? Christian Brothers, as you can see, it goes beyond just providing service.
Wow.
They offered people breakfast and lunch as they were waiting for their cars to be serviced. We found out of those people we contacted that 12 families were represented, 24 in total, including the other organization. And one of our members, Evelyn Colazo, was there while this was all being done. I was unavailable. Well, people were extremely grateful to have the not only the free oil change, but again, as I mentioned earlier, Christian Brothers people are very charitably minded. And they noticed that one car needed some help with door locks that were jammed. Another gentleman needed to replace a tire. And there were other minor mechanical maintenance issues that were done. So Christian Brothers really deals with the whole person and the entire need. So we're very grateful to Christian Brothers Norcross, and we look forward to continuing to work with them. The name of the company does truly demonstrate what Christian Brothers is all about. Thank you.
Thanks, Bernie. That's great. Appreciate it. And like, thank you for the photo. That's a really great. And this is, just to be clear, this is the Christian Brothers automotive team, right? Here in the picture.
Yeah, at the Norcross location.
Norcross, yeah. It's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, Elida, I believe you are up next. Your CareSource Life Services. We welcome you to our town hall. Thank you for taking time out of your day to be with us. I believe maybe you and your team member, you'll be on mute and you'll have to unmute yourself.
Hi, good morning. Like, I always know where the mute button is and but when it's my turn to speak, I can't ever find it. It hides. I apologize for that. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. We absolutely appreciate having the opportunity to speak with you today and talk a little bit about CareSource. So Tony Gray, he just turned on his camera. Wave, Tony, so they could identify you. There you go. So we're going to tag team. Tony Gray is the manager for the CareSource Life Services team, and his information is probably the most important part of what you may want to hear today. So I'm going to let him speak and do his presentation, but I'm just going to give you like a brief overview as to who CareSource is. So CareSource is a non-for-profit managed care organization. And we are very proud to be the only non-for-profit managed care company here in Georgia. So yes, there is such a thing as a non-for-profit insurance company. So our biggest focus is through the Georgia Families Program, which is Medicaid, Peach Care for Kids, and Planning for Healthy Babies. And we do cover all counties in the state. So we have coverage all throughout Georgia. Our mission is to make a lasting difference in the lives and well-being of our members. So all of our benefits will always be focused to ensuring that our members and of course the community have benefits that are sustaining and hopefully life-changing. We are not here to just provide a benefit for the purpose of providing a benefit. We want to make sure that it's something that will be impactful, and we prefer it to be in a positive way for all the members and their families. So with that said, I'm going to hand it over to Tony for his presentation. And I see that they've already included his slideshow. So Tony.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Again, thank you for that, Alita. My name is Tony Gray. I am the Life Services Manager here at CareSource, where we are all things helping the member directly approach to the member to remove all barriers from that member. Here in this slide is what you see is our team. We're a small but mighty team, and we comprise of 4 life coaches. As I stated, they work one-to-one with the coach. They provide an assessment to that member. They work out any issues, removing barriers, whether it's transportation, education, employment, housing. We assess their situation, we prioritize their needs, and we work on reducing those barriers to help them gain more self-sufficiency in their lives so they can actually focus on their health and well-being without some of the barriers and obstacles that they may deal with. We do have an engagement specialist. That individual is the individual where all our referrals are housed. She manages those referrals. She also vets the member to see what their needs are and what would be a great fit before she disseminates those referrals to our life coaches. We have a life services manager, which is myself, and director. We work congruently together to build relationships like St. Vincent de Paul to help leverage our partnerships and relationships to build resources for our members. We do have a housing manager who works to facilitate housing relationships, build relationships with affordable housing opportunities so that our members can gain or access to housing opportunities. Next slide, please. Here are where our life coaches are comprised throughout the state. They service about 49 counties each, excuse me. I think that's about right. No, I think it's about 40 counties each. What you see in dark purple is some of our strategic focus areas where they build relationships. They partner with the WIOA program, the housing programs. They know the jobs in the area. They're the SMEs of each corridor of their state so that they could provide access and opportunity to our members as they service the state of Georgia. Next slide. Life Services. Life Services is the umbrella agent of our program. What you see is the various pillars that I mentioned that we work with, workforce development being one of them. In Life Services, that is comprised of education and employment. Those pretty much tie together as 44% of our population do not have a high school diploma or GED. So we work to remove barriers. We pay for the GED. We help with getting those individuals acclimated to going to class, developing more easy process so they can fill out their FAFSA for educational paperwork to get enrolled. Our housing, recently we hired our housing SME, Brandy Marinko. She has connections throughout the state with affordable housing opportunities to try to gain affordable housing, as this is a great issue throughout the state with housing issues. We do utilize a housing locator link to help find opportunities. It serves as an internal browser such as Zillow or Redfin to find those affordable housing opportunities, and it is exclusive for CareSource members. We do have food and nutrition pillar that we work with. We have partnered with several different food banks throughout the state. We recently served Wayne County. We partnered with Second Harvest Food Bank, where we sponsored that event and was able to feed about 600 families that day. We do utilize Uber Eats and also DoorDash to gain access to some of these food deserts, especially in rural Georgia. We use those partnerships to allow these members to go to the food pantries so they won't have to worry about transportation or even order those individual meals or items that they need to bring to their own home. So that's our food strategy for right now. We're definitely working on that. And our health equity strategy is what it is. Any gaps, any areas we need to fill with resources, we identify and try to service those populations by filling the gap, whether it's food, education, transportation, employment, and anything that we can help our members gain self-sufficiency with. Next slide, please. How do you contact us? Well, first, let me say we service any member that is 16 and or older. If that CareSource member, whether it's a child, teenager, is in the household, we will service anyone in that household. We have a no wrong door approach. You can contact us by our Life Services Georgia at caresource.com email address. You can visit our website, caresourcegeorgia.com, go to our forms, or you can simply search Life Services in the web browser. It will populate to this web form, fill out your information. That information will go to our engagement specialist, where she will reach out to you to service your needs. Or you can simply contact us at our 1-800 number, which is listed, 1-844-607-2828. And one of our engagement specialists will help get the answers to the information that you need. We then will connect you to a life coach for our voluntary opt-in process. I think that concludes my PowerPoint presentation. Is there any questions for us?
Thank you both. We do have time at the end for questions. So if you have anything that's kind of stirring around in your mind, you can definitely join us at the end and follow up with the team from CareSource. Thank you for your time, both of you, for being with us today and sharing these resources with us. We really appreciate that. And I know our caseworkers appreciate always knowing about ways that we can help our neighbors in need in deeper ways. So thank you both for your time.
You're welcome. And Jennifer, I am going to add my contact information on the chat. That way, if anyone wants to reach out and ask any questions in depth, we'll always make time to make sure we're answering any questions or concerns, or if anyone just wants information on how to help their families or constituents apply for Medicaid or any other specific questions about our benefits, we will always make time to make sure we're available for you. So I'll make sure I put my information in the content in the chat.
And also,
thank you.
If there's any volunteerism, I think you all have several locations. We just recently I think the Chamblee area and volunteered, identifying Christmas gifts or whatnot. We had a great time there. So throughout the state, if you all need any volunteerism, please don't be afraid to ask us, as we have some employees who would love to volunteer. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. That's a nice bonus. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to be moving on to Mariel and let her introduce herself, and she's going to be talking with us about housing. Again, she's our new director of housing. So Mariel, welcome to your first town hall.
Thank you so
Yes.
much. Thank you all. I'm really happy to be here, and I'm happy to follow the CareSource friends. They are being humble about what they do in the housing sphere. They recently gave over $1 million in Georgia towards affordable housing for Georgians for homeownership. And in other states, they have done wonders related to infant mortality, looking at the severe impact of an eviction and unstable housing on a pregnant woman, and what they have been able to do to provide rental assistance and housing to pregnant women has been life-changing for their babies and as they grow up and for future generations. So CareSource is the real deal in what they're saying. And I just want to underscore that. Okay, but moving on to the housing work here. It is an absolute pleasure to be here. I've been here since September. And I want to share my background with you for the express purpose of your knowing where my strong suits are so that you can contact me. And Jennifer, this is my cell phone for the chat.
Okay, great.
And I think you all have my email, but Jennifer's going to, oh, there it is. It's on the screen. So it's already there, if you can see that. So my background initially was actually doing the practice of law. I worked at an office called the Georgia Law Center for the Homeless in downtown Atlanta, and I worked directly with clients providing them services. And I did that at the outset of my career. And the benefit to you all in that is that I did a lot of landlord tenant. And so when you're working on complex cases with neighbors in need, and they've got unusual situations, or if they've got a dispossessory filed against them, I'm happy to be a resource to you. We also have connections. One of the great things about working in that area is the people that you meet. And while I'm not able to step in and represent anybody, I can connect with people at Atlanta Legal Aid or Georgia Legal Services Program. So that was a really foundational part of my career. And after leaving that, I did work again with the Atlanta Legal Aid, but this time working as an ombudsman, going into nursing homes and assisted living and doing the work of a long-term care ombudsman. So if you're not familiar with that, it is where you go and you speak with people and you try to bring resolution to the issues that they're having. So that was the next part of my career. And after leaving that, I became an education and advocacy expert for a small organization called the Georgia Supportive Housing Association. And that work taught me so much about affordable housing and supportive services. And in terms of the work that you're doing, it really brought to me a background of who are resources in the area, who can I connect people to, who's doing this work. And so if you have a really challenging situation, I'm a resource to you, and you can reach out to me directly and I can see if I can connect you with somebody who's working in that field. So that's an introduction to me. And again, it's really nice to be here, and I see people that I recognize already on the Zoom. So it's nice to see you, and the folks I have not met yet, I'm really looking forward to meeting. So next slide. So the point of this conversation today is just to let you know what I've been working on since I've gotten started. We're really at the ground floor here. I really want to work with you, and so we can develop programs together. There's so much to do in the area of housing, and so I just look forward to your help and working as a partner with you and your conference. So I want to connect you with resources in your area, particularly ones that are sustainable And the most sustainable resources right now are coming from federal funding. So I want to connect you with your regional, it's called a continuum of care. And we'll talk more about it when I'm in your region and when we can be region specific. I want to hear about the resources that you're using, and I want to hear about the gaps in resources. And I know a big gap is housing, and so that's why I'm here. I want to meet you and I want to help you with your casework. I want to find education that you're interested in. I mentioned my background, and I want to pull from my background to find webinars that will help the work you're doing and be interesting to you. And I want to be available. So moving forward in the slideshow, it's a little too dense to go through everything. You're going to have this slideshow afterwards, and you can read it at your convenience. I just want to kind of go over the bigger topics of it. So I know you've all heard about our amazing motel to home program, where instead of being a kind of a one-off with a neighbor in need, we identify people who we can work with them for actually a year. We work with them for a year, providing them support for a year, referrals to different organizations that can help them, and targeted financial support to get them out of the transition wherever they're staying right now, whether it's an extended stay motel, they could be staying in a vehicle, they could be couch surfing with a friend or family. Anyone who's coming out of those situations, we can provide them with targeted financial support to move them into affordable housing. And then over the course of that year, we support them with workshops. So I mentioned before who this is for. Oh, go back one more, Jennifer.
Sorry.
No, you're good. A big piece of the motel to home program is that this is a self-sufficiency program that's moving someone from where they're not in housing into housing. And a big piece of this is that they're able to maintain that affordable housing going forward. So in order to be in this program, they have to have some sort of income. It could be Social Security disability, it could be even SSI, or it could be employment income, but they have to be able to have some income to be able to maintain the affordable housing. And they have to be able to do a lot on their own in terms of locating the apartments and be receptive to your support and be receptive to being a participant in the program. The program is not for everybody. It's for those who are interested and ready for it. And it was great to hear from CareSource that they have a website navigator for affordable housing. That would be really helpful. Okay, so this is just a really broad program overview of motel to home. We identify the participants and they actually locate the housing. We help them with that housing process. And then we sustain them through our mentorship and workshops, and then they remain housed. So we are doing and pushing forward the motel to home program because it's successful. So you all started this program about 2.5 years ago. And in that time, we've had about 90 families in the program, which is a lot for a brand new program. And 99% of them are still housed in that affordable housing. I'm only aware of one family that's no longer in their in that housing. This is just a snapshot of the benefit to the families from being in this program. But I think what spoke to me most about this program, I was speaking with Heidi Evely, who is the program director for us. And she said that the benefit of our program is that people come to us for your advice. Sometimes they don't have anyone in their lives who they can ask questions and get really wise advice back. And the person does not have an agenda except to help them. And so that's what this program is for these families. It's targeted financial assistance. It's workshops to maintain that housing and work on budgeting and such. And it's that mentorship for a year. So this program costs about $3,000 per family that is in your program. That's an approximation. Some families are less expensive than that. Some are going to be more. It depends on where they are and what kind of situation they're coming from and going into. We expect to have limited grant funding in 2023 for these, I believe these are 13 counties. I'll know by the end of this month, I believe, how much funding we'll have from the United Way of Greater Atlanta. And so you can refer neighbors in need to us from these 13 counties that are listed. Now, I know that's not everybody who's on this call, and we want you to be a part of the Motel to Home program. Like now, we want you to be in this. And so we need funding for your conference. So I want to reach out directly to the United Way in your area. If you see yourself listed, you're on my radar. And I want you to reach out to me about it, about being involved in doing this program in that area. Part of my job is also asking for philanthropic funding so that we can bring this program statewide. So I'm doing that. And if your conference can afford to self-fund it, you can start doing Motel to Home immediately on your own, because this is the cost of it, approximately $3,000 a household. And if you're not able to do that, which I'm sure a lot of conferences, that would be a huge challenge, perhaps there's a twinning opportunity. So if you join our Motel to Home program, this is a snapshot of what we provide to you to support you in it. And then on the other side of this slide is what you would be providing to the neighbors in need. And how to join. So after this town hall, you're going to get a survey. It's going to come from Jennifer, I believe.
Vincent Services.
Vincent Services. And you can volunteer right there. You can sign up for Motel to Home, and I'll be in touch with you. And we'll have regular times where we meet. If you're not interested in being a caseworker on it, there's other ways to volunteer. It would be really great if you help with workshops, if you like teaching, if you have a background in money management, if you have a background in anything that would be helpful to these families, it'd be great for you to volunteer as a teacher or a helper or an organizer. A big piece of Motel to Home is landlord engagement. And what it basically is giving the landlord incentives and assurances to motivate them to rent to people in our program. And I just got a wonderful email this morning from a Vincentian who has spoken with a landlord who wants to rent to people in our program.
Oh, wonderful. That's
So
wonderful.
that is awesome. And we need these landlords because we're asking these families in our Motel to Home to find private landlords who will rent to them. We want to be able to have an inventory of people we can send them to.
Oh, that's great.
So you can help us with the landlord engagement piece as well. We have big goals about this piece. We want to have strong landlord retention, great communication between your work and bringing on the landlords and communication with the tenants that we're placing with them. We want to have excellent education to our families so that they're ready to rent, and we have a curriculum for that. And we want to have for you a fund here at the council office called a risk mitigation fund that we would ideally never have to touch. But if for some reason rent is owed or damages are made, we can make that landlord whole. So this is a detailed slide about what we would be providing to you in the landlord engagement program and what we're asking of you to be involved. And there's lots of different ways you can be involved in this. You can champion the program. You can provide education at different events in the community about it, or you can be involved on the organizational level by keeping that housing inventory and being aware of who the landlords are. And so again, there will be a survey, and it's the same survey, and you can sign up to volunteer with the landlord engagement piece. So in October, we had the first webinar that I was a part of on referring people to health insurance and to Medicaid. And we have a link. Are you able to click the link and then get back to the PowerPoint?
Perhaps.
Okay, so we have a link on the member website. And then we have to
Let's
share.
see. I have to make sure that the participants are able to see.
To share
Let's
that
see.
screen. So it's, if you want to refer a neighbor in need to health.
It's at our
insurance,
website.
This is
Yes.
our website, and then that's the link right there.
Here?
Right there, Health Insurance Navigators.
Right here.
Yep, click on that.
Okay.
And then scroll down, or you could do either one of those orange buttons.
Connect.
Connect, yep. This is the forum to connect the neighbor in need right to these experts, to Trey Lynn or to Deanna, and also for Medicaid as well. They will connect, your neighbor in need who's in need of that health insurance. That was the first webinar that we did.
Wonderful.
So the next webinar coming up, and it's the next slide. Sorry to give you
No worries.
difficulty.
I think I'm able to do that.
So the next event we have coming up is going to be on the eviction process. One of the legal aid attorneys, Maggie Kinnear, is going to be joining us to not only talk about the eviction process, but also to talk about living in an extended stay motel. The law has really changed around this, and people are now considered to be tenants when they're living there. And so they have a right to the eviction process and not just having the door locked. So that's all important information for you to have. And if you miss these webinars, you can go back and grab them on the website. In 2023, we'll be having training on trauma-informed care. And we want to start doing more for unsheltered homelessness. And so a first step is to look at unsheltered veterans who are experiencing unsheltered homelessness. And so those will be trainings up and coming in 2023. And if you have ideas for trainings, you can put them in that survey that's coming to you if there's something you want to do. I want to make you aware that we are working on developing affordable housing here. We have a parcel of land in South Atlanta in Fulton County. And so we are working on creating some actual housing, if that's going to be possible in this market. It's to be determined. There are a lot of questions moving forward on it. But it's something I want to put on your radar because it's something that you can do in your conference as well. And I can leverage the information and the professionals and the partners that we're looking into in this property towards what you want to do. I've already spoken with some wonderful people with interest in this, in their conference. And I think office hours would probably be the best way to move those things forward. When you have something special that you want to do in your conference that involves long-term planning, probably the best thing to do would be to schedule some regular standing meetings and office hours about it. But I want to share this slide with you so that you know that this is something we can do, longer term projects together. Again, that will be on the survey. So you can sign up if that's something that you think would be possible for your conference. And last but not least, we've got a voice. St. Vincent de Paul, Georgia has a voice to use. And it's great to see all the wonderful education and advocacy at the national level. And we can echo that. I know you're doing it. I know you're really involved in it. An upcoming opportunity is in February at the Capitol. Yeah. And I will be there and I would love for you to come. You might already have it on your calendar, but it's just a great time to get a briefing on housing issues and then go meet with your own legislator at the Capitol. So that was a lot of information, and these are the things that we talked about in bright colors. So sign up on that survey.
Thank you, Muriel.
You're welcome.
So, and with time to spare, my timer, we have 3 minutes. Well done. We are going to move into the question piece of our town hall today. So for those of you who may have questions for Muriel or for any of our other speakers who presented, I would just ask that you unmute yourself so that we're able to hear you and go ahead and fire away. I want to be sure to answer any questions you may have. And this, just before they get started, the presentation today is going to be available in a handout and posted with a survey when you receive that. So be sure to fill out the survey so that you can have access to the handouts from today and all of the rich information that Muriel and everyone else shared with us. Questions? We'll open the floor for questions.
I have a question.
Hi, Carolyn.
It's actually for Fred, a couple of questions.
Okay,
I was
Fred.
curious about how many
Sorry,
members...
Carolyn, I'm unmute. Okay, thank you. You've unmuted. Thank you.
So I'm from the All Saints Parish, and we also have the same issue of struggling to recruit enough members. And I was wondering how many members you currently have and how many of them actually do casework, because we have a lot of people on our list, but we have a much smaller number that do the actual casework. So I'm curious to see your numbers for that.
Good question. A tough question. We have currently 165 volunteers.
Oh my goodness, wow.
And of that, we currently have 16 people that do casework. We're recruiting heavily and to get people to do casework. And one of the things we found, people like to start at the pantry because they think that's easier. Then as we educate them, they say, can we try to do casework? And that's starting to go well. We've recruited 3 people out of pantry to start doing intake. Now they want to do casework. So it's a process that you constantly have to do. And again, that's why we recruit every single day. We meet somebody at church, we talk about St. Vincent de Paul, and enough places to go at church that I can say, let me get you an application. So it's instead of doing it once a year.
And we don't have the pantry as an easy entry thing. So we struggle sometimes to find things for people to do to get involved before they're ready to be a caseworker.
Yeah, and we do that at the reception area as well at church. So if you walked in and said, I'm interested in joining St. Vincent de Paul, they have applications. So again, that's why we have the recruiting manager, that we can always say to that person, let me have so-and-so give you a call.
And do you meet once a month, and do you have live or Zoom meetings, and do most of the 160, what kind of attendance do you have at meetings?
We have most average about 35 people at the monthly meeting. And so we communicate with a lot of different ways. And so a lot of them send me emails, so it's a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, and trying to stay in touch, I send them regular messages, and it's a challenge. It really is.
That is a lot, 165.
Yeah. And it goes up and down.
Oh yeah. And just one other number question, about how many calls do you guys get on your helpline a week, and is it open every day?
We use Vonage, the church does. And so we last month, we did 320 calls.
Wow. Okay.
That's inbound and out. Okay. Because again, you get a call, we have to call them back. So that's 320. We average that per month.
That's a lot too.
Yeah. And so we have right now for intake people, we have 6 people that do intake.
And where are you guys located? Where is your parish?
Is Flowery Branch.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you, Carolyn, for asking the question.
We're always trying to learn for our conference how to pick up some of these ideas that other people are doing.
That's right, absolutely. That's why we have the town hall. Who was asking a question? I'm not able to see your name, but I see you're unmuted. iPhone 11.
Yes, that's me. I'm Suzanne Strang. I'm from Mary Our Queen. In follow up to that question, I wondered if you had any documentation to help a new caseworker through the process.
We do. We actually we have started what we call a mentor program. So if you wanted to start doing casework, we would have you with an experienced person after you have been taught the basics of what to do. And then you would ride with that caseworker until you're comfortable to do it on your own.
So is there documentation that's provided to the new caseworker after that time period?
Just the only documentation, we have basic documentation of what you should do, what you shouldn't do. And we have documentation for using CMS because they always forget. So we have a book that they give.
Is it possible for you to share that?
Sure.
I think we could use something along those lines.
I'll send you what I have.
Fred, would you like to send it to me and I can make sure everyone gets it?
Sure.
Yeah, or both of us, I guess. We'll send out the link in the follow-up email with the attachments.
That'd be awesome.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your question.
I have another question for Marielle, actually. The $1 million that was provided Atlanta, is that just for the city of Atlanta?
The $1 million from CareSource?
No. I'm sorry, I'm distracted here with the name. Our new employee for the housing?
Right, Marielle, she's on.
Yes, that's who I mentioned.
Oh, which $1 million? Which fund?
You mentioned it in the very beginning of your presentation.
Yes, that was, yes, I was referring to a donation that CareSource made to an organization called SVdP for single family homes in Georgia. I don't know if it's specific to Atlanta. And I could send information about it, or the CareSource folks can. But I was telling you that so you're aware of how deeply invested they are in the community here.
I'd be interested in understanding a little more about what that provides to our clients, if that's future housing, current new building housing, or what that's specifically what that involves.
Hello, this is Tony. It is catering to Metro Atlanta. I can connect you to our housing SME. I'll put my email in the chat as well, and I can get you contacted to get you more information about that.
So it is Metro Atlanta only?
Yes, I think we did do something in Athens as well. But yes, I think it's Metro Atlanta. But there again, I can get you more information regarding that with our housing SME.
That'd be great.
Thank you. Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Jean, I see your hand up.
Thank you. Yeah, I've got a question for CareSource. Just, is it a self-referral kind of program, or is it something we as caseworkers can refer to them? And is there a fee involved? How long is the application process to become one of their members?
Great question. So the member does have to be a CareSource member, meaning they are insured by CareSource. Our program is a voluntarily opted in program. So yes, they volunteered to opt in and work directly with a life coach. And the program is free of charge. All we ask is you be a member of CareSource.
And what does that involve, being a member of CareSource? Is that something they do right now during open enrollment, or?
Yes, they would have to. And Alita, could you speak to the enrollment process?
Yes, absolutely.
But yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so the state of Georgia has guidelines which are usually financially, you have to fit the criteria to qualify for Medicaid or Peach Care for Kids. So they can go through either Georgia Family's website to apply, you could also go through DFACS, or, and I know they're not working face-to-face right now, so that makes it a little bit hard for our families to apply in person. But usually the Georgia Families website, you can do this through them. But in order to qualify, you do have to meet the criteria, and the state does determine the criteria. Usually Medicaid and Peach Care for Kids have the exact same benefits. The only difference in who qualifies for which one is just really at what level of the income bracket they're in. So those families that may be at the higher end of their income bracket, they qualify for Peach Care for Kids. And basically all that means is that they may have a very small premium to cover their for their insurance, or those that are at the lower end will qualify for Medicaid. Benefits are identical. And once they're deemed eligible by the state, they will give them 90 days. So if they are new recipients, they have 90 days to be able to choose their plan. If they do not choose a plan, the state will automatically choose one for them. And the way that that happens is basically whichever plan is in turn that month will get the assignment for that member. So basically you can choose yourself, and every year you have an opportunity to re-choose a plan unless you have a special situation in your family, the birth of a child, you moved, your employment changed, income changed. Those are all special enrollment opportunities for you to be able to call and switch plans if you wish to do so. I don't know if that answers your question, but the open enrollment that you may be talking about right now, it's currently marketplace open enrollment, which is commonly referred to as Obamacare. So that enrollment has been extended till January 7th, I believe. It usually ends the beginning of December, but we're still technically in the pandemic, so they are continuing to extend that for anyone that may be wanting to apply. So I strongly encourage you to remind your families that really there's no reason why anyone needs to go without insurance. I actually just recently helped someone enroll, and they're only going to pay $37 premium for dental, vision, and the whole shebang. It's a great coverage. So so please encourage your families to apply. If they don't qualify for Medicaid, they can go on to healthcare.gov, start an application, and they can actually be referred back to Medicaid if once they apply for coverage through Marketplace directly. If they find that they're eligible for Medicaid, they would automatically refer them and send them a letter letting them know that they could possibly be eligible for Medicaid.
So does CareSource also, is it also covered under Obamacare, or is it just under Medicaid and Peach Care for Kids?
Yeah, so great question. So we do have a Marketplace plan. The only thing is that we are only in certain areas with Marketplace. I did put our website address on the chat. So I strongly suggest to go on there and see if the area that you live in is under the coverage area.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you both. Anyone else have any questions for the good of the group? All right. Mariel or Pat, do you have anything you'd like to add before we sign off with everyone? Thank everyone for coming and being a part of the group today and being a part of the conversation.
Yeah, just thank the outside folks that spoke on some of the practices and in their conferences. Really some great ideas and really some great actions by a lot of folks. Really being creative and finding new ways to serve. And thanks, Marielle. That was a great presentation.
Yeah, it's really great.
Jennifer, appreciate you pulling the logistics together.
Yeah, no problem. So our next town hall, if you want to save the date, it's going to be March 9th. We'll have more information that comes out. Be sure to check your formation and news e-blast that's sent to all Vincentians and share those with your fellow conference members. If anyone says that they're, again, if they're not receiving them for whatever reason, please reach out to me and let me know. We can troubleshoot that on our end. Nisha, who's another team member, she's a wonderful resource and very, very good at what she does. So she's able to kind of quickly assess that and get you signed up if you're not already so. Thank you again for your time today. I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas and spends time with your family. And we're always available an email away. You can find our email addresses in the society page as well as on our website. So don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any Any questions about today's town hall or any questions in the future? Have a good one. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas. All right, so I think there was a second. Yeah, that's the conference room. Sorry, I'm trying to get out of here. There we go.